Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna
Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes good morning, say Prabhat. So, who's reading today? I forgot.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Can you please put the link on the screen?
So is it okay?
Sorry, my microphone may not be working. Now it's working?
Oh, yes, it's working. Prabhu, can you put the link on the screen for the chapter 12?
Yes. Sure, yeah. Krishna Prabhu sharing. Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Yeah.
So Hare Krishna to all the devotees. Please accept my, please kindly accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirate Nashtaprayasu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Today we'll reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, titled The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 12, titled Dhruv Maharaj Goes Back to Godhead, verses from 21 to 30. Text 21. Dhruv Maharaj, seeing that these uncommon personalities were direct servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, immediately stood up, but being puzzled in hastiness, he forgot how to receive them in the proper way. Therefore, he simply offered obeisances with folded hands and chanted and glorified the holy names of the Lord. Text 22. Dhruv Maharaj was always absorbed in thinking of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. His heart was full with Krishna. When the two confidential servants of the Supreme Lord, who were named Nanda and Sunanda, approached him smiling happily, Dhruv stood with folded hands, bowing humbly. They then addressed him as follows. Text 23. Nanda and Sunanda, the two confidential associates of Lord Vishnu, said, Dear King, let there be all good fortune unto you. Please attentively hear what we shall say. When you were only 5 years old, you underwent severe austerities, and you thereby greatly satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 24. We are representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of the whole universe, who carries in his hand the bow named Shrinaga. We have been specifically deputed to take you to the spiritual world. Text 25. To achieve Vishnu Loka is very difficult, but by your austerity, you have conquered. Even the great rishis and demigods cannot achieve this position. Simply to see the Supreme aboard the Vishnu planet, the sun and the moon and all the other planets, stars, lunar mansions and solars systems are circumambulating it. Now please come. You are welcome to go there. Text 26. Dear King Dhruv, neither you, your forefathers, nor anyone else before you ever achieved such transcendental planet. The planet known as Vishnu Loka, where Lord Vishnu personally resides, is the highest of all. It is worshipable by inhabitants of all other planets within the universe. Please come with us and live there eternally. Text 27. O immortal one, this unique airplane has been sent by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by selected prayers and who is the chief of all living entities. You are quite worthy to board such a plane. Text 28. The great sage Maitreya continued, Maharaj Dhruv was very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he heard the sweet speeches of the Lord's chief associates in the Vaikuntha planet, he immediately took his cart, bath, dressed himself with suitable ornaments, and performed his daily spiritual duties. Thereafter, he offered his respectful obeisances to the great sages present there and accepted their blessings. Text 29. Before getting aboard, Dhruv and also offered obeisances to the associates of Vishnu. In the meantime, he became as brilliant and illuminating as molten gold. He was thus completely prepared to board the transcendental plane. Text 30. When Dhruv Maharaj was attempting to get on the transcendental plane, he saw that personified approach him, not caring for that. However, he took the advantage of the opportunity to put his feet on the head of that, and thus he got up on the airplane, which was as big as a house. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, and Hare Krishna. Over to you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Sri Hari Radha Mataji, for reading translations for today's Bhagavatam section. Thank you all for joining today's Bhagavatam session. And also thank you, Sundarananda Prabhu, for giving this opportunity. We'll start with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminite Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatta Deshatarani. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12. The Maharaj goes back to Godhead, slokas 21 to 30. So just to give a background, we heard in the previous chapter how Maitreya Muni narrating the Maharaj hearing the encouraging words of Manu, the great sages. So he was in the fighting with the Akshas because one of the Akshas killed his brother Uttama. So he became angry and he's fighting with the Akshas, and his anger level exceeded and he's killing many Akshas. That time Akshas basically put into illusion through their mystic powers. And then the great sages came and mentioned that to use the Narayanastra, the chanting of the holy name of the Supreme Lord. So then then Dhruva Maharaj, hearing the encouraging words of the great sages, he used the Narayanastra. Then all the illusion disappeared. Then he started killing many Akshas, and then seeing that out of the compassion, his grandfather Manu approached there with many sages, and he advised to stop the war because it's not appropriate to kill many Akshas because of one Aksha's offense. And then also Manu mentions that by killing many Akshas, so he is disrespecting the chief of the Akshas, who is Kuvera. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. So then he also Manu mentions that he should pray to the chief of the Akshas, Kuvera, and his brother Lord Shiva. So then the Manu and the sages returns to the place, leave that place. And then in this chapter, so far we heard how hearing the advice and the instructions of the Manu, Dhruva Maharaj prays to the Kuvera. He stops killing first the Akshas, and knowing that Kuvera appears in front of Dhruva Maharaj, and Kuvera appreciates Dhruva Maharaj for giving up enmity because it's very difficult. And then he also mentions to ask for benediction, and here Dhruva Maharaj begging only for pure devotion, not for any material things. And then Dhruva Maharaj went back to the city, and we heard how he performed many yajnas for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and how he ruled the kingdom very nicely for 36,000 years. And after that, he made his son as the emperor and left to the forest to completely focusing on the spiritual practice. And then he heard like because of his sincere practice, all the symptoms of liberation exhibited in him. And at that time, we see that this wonderful aeroplane from Vaikunta came, and there were two beautiful associates of Lord Vishnu in that plane. So today we'll continue from there. So in the text 21, we see that Dhruva Maharaj saw these uncommon personalities were the direct servants of the Supreme Lord. So then he stood up, and being puzzled, he forgot how to receive them properly. So then what he did is he simply offered obeisance with folded hands and chanted and glorified the holy names of the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada mentions that in the purport. So this chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the holy name of the Supreme Lord, is perfect in all situations. Like so, Om Apavitro Pavitro. Like whether it's we are in impure condition or in pure condition, as soon as we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the holy name of the Supreme Lord, everything becomes perfect. And here we see that Dhruva Maharaj being puzzled for a moment, he forgot how to receive them, the servants of the Supreme Lord. So then he chanted this holy name of the Supreme Lord. So in that way, he pleased the servants of the Supreme Lord, or satisfied them. So similarly, when we are in a situation where we don't know how to please the Krishna or the devotees of Supreme Lord with prayers or many slokas, even if we don't know, but if we simply chant the holy name of the Supreme Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, then everything becomes perfect. The Krishna will be pleased, and his devotees also will be pleased. So that's what Prabhupada mentions, that a devotee, when he is in a dangerous situation or a distress situation or happiness, if they can constantly chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then everything becomes perfect. So if he is in danger, so Krishna will help them to come out from this dangerous situation. So if he is in happiness and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, then that would please Krishna and his devotees. Of course, not only for devotees, even for non-devotees, if somebody chants this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, so many of their sinful reactions are burnt away. In the pastime of Ajamel, it is mentioned, Janma Koti Amhasam Api, like that. There are many millions of births, whatever the sinful actions that they have been done, those reactions all are burnt away. So once the sinful reactions are gone, then one can experience the some happiness or peacefulness in this life. So in the text 22, we see that Dhruva Maharaj always obsessed in thinking of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So when he saw the two confidential servants were named Nanda and Sunanda approached him, so Dhruva Maharaj stood with folded hands, bowing humbly, and then he started addressing. Then they had started addressing him like. So in this purport, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that for this sloka, so these two confidential servants, so they are named Nanda and Sunanda. they're very obedient. So there is a particular word used in this sloka called Pushkaranabha Sammato. Pushkaranabha means the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has the lotus navel. And Sammato means the servants who always obey the instructions or the words of the Supreme Lord. So the two confidential servants. So generally in this material world, most of the living entities, the conditioned living entities, they are rebellious of the Supreme Lord. So that's why they are going to this miserable condition. But if we want to become perfect or situate in that complete happiness, being part and parcel of Krishna, if we can obey the instructions of the Supreme Lord, like Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Charanam Raja. Like if we can follow that instruction, then we can also be situated in the complete happiness. And that's what we see all the living entities of the spiritual world. So they always follow the instructions of the Krishna and they execute them with their sincerely and seriously. So that's why they are always blissful. So if we can do the same thing, then we can also achieve that ultimate destination, going back home, back to Godhead. So here in the text 23, we see that the two confidential associates of Lord Vishnu, Nanda and Sunanda, started speaking. They say that, dear king, let there be all good fortune. And please attentively hear. So when you were only 5 years old, you underwent severe austerity and greatly satisfied the Supreme Lord. And we heard in the previous chapter, right, how Dhruva Maharaj, by following the instructions of bona fide Guru, Narada Muni, he performed a severe austerity. Then he pleased Krishna. So similarly, if we can also simply follow the instructions that were given by Srila Prabhupada or Guru, so and execute them sincerely, then we can also go back home, back to God. So in the text 24, these two associates are saying that the representatives of the Supreme Lord and who is the creator of the whole universe, and he carries the bow named Saranga, and they have deputed to take Dhruva Maharaj to the spiritual world. And here we see that Dhruva Maharaj, because he executed the instructions of his Guru Narada Muni, and by the process of Bhakti Yoga, so now he is here the two associates came, associates of Krishna came to take him to the spiritual world. Prabhupada mentions that whoever performs this way, like whoever remembers Krishna or endeavors to understand Krishna's incarnation or pastimes, so they'll be eligible to go back home, back to God. In Bhagavad Gita, we hear Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tattvataha Tvaktadeham Punarjanma Naiti Mameti Svachana. So like whoever understands in reality the Krishna's incarnation and his pastimes, they go back home, back to God, and they don't take another birth. And Dhruva Maharaj implemented this thing in his life by performing the severe austerity and following the instructions of the Supreme Lord. And even when he is in Grihastha life also, so he performed this Yukta Vairagya, like whatever the opulences that he is getting because of his past good karma, so he's used them in the service of Krishna, like performing many yajnas to please Krishna, giving charity to the sages or Vaishnavas, like that. And whatever the bad reactions that he had in the past lives, so he is burning away through the voluntary austerity, by taking voluntary austerity. So similarly, we can also, if we can take voluntary austerity, like waking up early, even though it is uncomfortable for us, if we can do that and then chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the morning, then it will burn out all our bad karma. Not only that, it will also increase our attachment to Krishna. So then we become eligible to go back home, back to God. And then in the next sloka 25, we see that these two associates are saying like the Vishnu Loka, to achieve Vishnu Loka is very difficult. But because Dhruva Maharaj executed, performed austerity, so he has conquered. So which is not possible even for, or which is difficult for many great rishis and demigods also. So, and he's saying that, simply to see the Supreme Lord about the sun, moon, and all other planets are circumlating it. So now you please come and you are welcome to go there. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that, so achieving Vishnu Loka is not something very easy. Of course, we hear devotees give example like, even in this material world, so many of probably have the experience like, and in the beginning when somebody is coming from India to America, so one goes through so much hard process. So they have to prepare so much documentation and submit to the US Embassy and get their approval. So many things, hoping that, they will be relieved from many problems or they'll have a better life in here. But of course, then once they come here, then they understand that there are a different flavor of suffering here. And then what to speak of going to the other planets in the same universe. Prabhupada mentions that the scientists, they try to go to moon. Of course, some countries, they announced that, they went to the moon. Not sure whether they really went to the moon that is mentioned in the Vedic scriptures. But even if they went there, so what did they do? Like after spending millions of dollars, they just brought a couple of stones from there. So they are not successful to stay there. So even if we think that they are successful to stay there, still they need to, they probably live longer life, but they still need to leave the body. They need to go through the birth and death, which is miserable. So, but a devotee, simply by executing the process of bhakti yoga, so one can go back home, back to Godhead and live permanently there. Of course, this is difficult, definitely, especially in the previous yugas. Krute dhyayato Vishnu. Like in Satya Yuga, people has to leave the home and then go to forest and meditate on Krishna for many, many thousands of years. But by the grace of the Supreme Lord Krishna, in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave this simple process in this Kali Yuga. Like just chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and then go back home, back to God. Of course, as an empowered agent, Srila Prabhupada made the process more simple. Like during Prabhupada time or before that, one has to chant 64 rounds of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But now Prabhupada, as an empowered agent of Krishna, Acharya, so he reduced it to 16 rounds only. So like there is a 75% discount. So if we can take up this simple process, then we can achieve the same highest goal that one would get in the Satya Yuga by going through so much severe austerity or performing tapasya for meditation for many, many thousands of years. Of course, I'm talking to myself. So in the text 26, we see that the two associates are telling, dear King Dhruva, neither your forefathers nor anyone else before you ever achieved this transcendental planet. So known as Vishnu Loka, where the Lord Vishnu personally resides. And it is worshipable of all other planets within the universe. So please come with us and live there eternally. We heard in the previous chapters how Dhruva Maharaj performed great austerity, and then Krishna, Lord Vishnu, appeared and gave benediction that he will come to the spiritual world. And of course, here the two associates are telling that so either his father or grandfather or great grandfather, no one else achieved before this. So his father Uttanapada or grandfather Manu or great grandfather Lord Brahma not achieved this one. Not only that, anyone else also before achieved this. Of course, Swayambhu Manu or Lord Brahma, they are great devotees. But most of them, or many of them in this material world, they are not into the path of Bhakti Yoga. So they might be in the Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, but not in the path of Bhakti Yoga. But this Vishnu Loka is specifically meant for the devotees. So not following through Karma Yoga and looking for elevating to the higher planets, or going through the Ashtanga Yoga to get some mystic powers. But this Vishnu Loka is specifically meant for the devotees who follow the process of Bhakti Yoga. Of course, anyhow, in the Kali Yuga, as the Kali Yuga is progressing, many of them are not following any yoga. So what to speak of Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, what to speak of Bhakti Yoga. And is mentioned in this sloka that so one who goes to this Vaikuntha planet, they live there eternally. Paramam Padam, like, that is the supreme abode. So in this material world, so in whichever planet we are in there, so we have to leave the body. So Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, right? So the topmost planet, the Brahma Loka, Brahma Bhuvana Loka, Punaravartino, like, whatever the planet we are in this universe, so one has to go through the repeated birth and death, But Mamupetya Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate, like, but one who reaches to the abode of the Supreme Lord Krishna, so then they don't need to take birth again. So here Dhruva Maharaj is reminded that he is going to the planet where he doesn't need to return into this material world. So Adgatva Nani Vartante Tadhama Paramam Mama. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the planet from which once going there, so no one returns into this material world. So that is the highest goal of the human life, and that's the perfection of the human life. In the text 27, we see that this unique aeroplane that was sent by Krishna, who is worshipped by selected prayers and who is the chief of all living entities. And here they are saying that you are quite worthy to board such a plane. And Prabhupada mentions that this is a unique aeroplane because the aeroplane that Dhruva Maharaj is requested to aboard doesn't run by any mechanical instruments that we see in this material world. Prabhupada mentions that there are three processes for moving in outer space. So one is the what we see in this material world, in this world that modern scientists manufacturing these aeroplanes to travel in the outer space. And the second process is called Kapota Vayu. Like, they train a pigeon, Kapota, to take a living entity into the outer space. So they train like that. And there is other process called Akasha Patana. So where this aeroplane will fly according to our mind. So the speed of the mind. So, but still these are all comes under the category of the material things. But this unique aeroplane, say above the these material things, because it's a transcendental. And this is coming from the Vaikuntha. So that's why it's completely spiritual. And in the text 28, we see that Maitreya Muni continuing that Maharaj Dhruva was very dear to Supreme Lord. So when he heard these sweet speeches from the associates of Supreme Lord, so then he immediately took his sacred bath, dressed himself with suitable ornaments, performed his daily spiritual duties. Then he, not only that, he offered respectful obeisances to the other great sages who were present there and accepted their blessings. And Prabhupada mentions a couple of points from this sloka in the purport. That first one is, so we should always perform our daily spiritual duties, like waking up early, taking bath, and chanting whatever the prescribed rounds that one who is doing. That those and all we have to complete our daily spiritual duties and decorate our body with Vaishnava tilak in 12 places because it is auspicious and it also purifies the body. And Dhruva, we heard in the previous slokas that so he's staying in, is living in the Badrika Ashrama where there are many other sages. And here we see that Dhruva when he was requested to abode into this Vaikuntha aeroplane, he did not become puffed up. Oh, only I was only the one request or asked to get into this abode. So I'm a great devotee like that. He didn't become puffed up. So, so as a humble Vaishnava, so he accepted blessings from all the sages before stepping into this aeroplane. So that's one thing that we can also take. Like, one should be very humble. So even though one is advancing in the spiritual life, so one should become more humble. Of course, that's a symptom of an advanced devotee. He's always humble. He's always humble. So in the text 29, we see that before getting into the aeroplane, Dhruva worshipped the aeroplane, circumambulated it, and also he offered obeisance to the associates of the Vishnu. And in the meantime, he became as brilliant and illuminating as molten gold. So he's completely prepared to board the transcendental plane. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that you see here also Dhruva, he worshipped the aeroplane, circumambulated, and he offered obeisances to the associates of Lord Vishnu. Because anything related to Krishna, they're all spiritual. So there is no material contamination. So they are, in quality, they are one with Krishna. And Dhruva, knowing this very well, so here we see that, he offered his obeisances to the associates of Lord Vishnu, worshipped the aeroplane and circumambulated everything. So similarly, so in the temple also, not only the deities, but all the paraphernalia that are associated with Krishna, like the temple room or his throne or any items that are used in the worship of Krishna. So they're also transcendental. And they're above the three modes, Sattva, Raja, Tamoguna. Prabhupada mentions in the purport that one who lives in the forest, they're in the mode of goodness. And one who is living in the city, they're in the mode of passion. But one who is living in the contaminated places like, liquor shops or slaughterhouses or brothel places, they're living in the mode of ignorance. But one who is living in the temple, it's above the three modes, transcendental. So this is some thing that, the consciousness or mood that we have when we visit the temple. Not only that, so to live in the transcendental environment, we also make our the environment where we are living in that kind of environment. Like we make our house above the three modes, the environment which is above the three modes. Like, we have the temple room and worship, do the deity worship and chant Hare Krishna mantra, prescribed rounds. Of course, we do our duties, whatever the work that we do, and then we cook and offer the bhoga to Krishna. Like that, we make the environment in the house also above the three modes, the transcendental. So then in the text 30, we see that Dhruva, when he was attempting to get onto this plane, he saw death personified approaching him. And not caring for death, he took advantage of the opportunity to put his feet on head of the death, and then he got up to the airplane, which was as big as a house. And here we see the power of the devotion, where one can conquer the death. In this material world, everyone is afraid of death. But here we see that the devotee defeats the death personification. Prabhupada mentions that one may see externally leaving a devotee leaving the body or non-devotee leaving the body looks same, and they may see same. But internally there is a big difference. And Prabhupada and the purport gives analogy like a cat carrying a kitten or rat. So in the mouth of cat, if there is a kitten, the kitten will not be afraid. In fact, it feels very safe. And it also knows that it is protected. But when in the same mouth, when there is a rat, and rat becomes very afraid, because it knows that the cat will kill him and eat it. So similarly, so there's a big difference being in the mouth of cat, kitten or a rat being in the mouth of cat. So similarly, a devotee leaving the body and non-devotee leaving the body, there is a big difference. So we see here that Dhruva Maharaj, while he was boarding in this aeroplane, so he took advantage the arrival of death personification, who came there to offer his obeisances. And Dhruva Maharaj, he kept his feet on the head of death, and then he got up onto the aeroplane. So we see that through the process of Bhakti Yoga, as this Kali Yuga, of course, chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, so we can overcome this fearful and miserable death also. So this is a great benefit for all of us in this Kali Yuga. I'll pause it here. Thank you all for giving this opportunity. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vranda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. Thank you to all the devotees for joining the class. We'll end the class here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you so much,
Krishna.
Prabhuji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Danda Pranam.